content of today's session. So hello, good afternoon, welcome to everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Are your team working from home? What you need to know about IT security. So we're doing this in collaboration with Andrew Rosamond today from CARA Technology. My name is Steve Price. I'm going to be your moderator today, and what that largely means is I'm going to introduce Andrew and tell our clients a little bit about who Andrew is, but also I'm going to be looking at the questions and answers. So this is a live webinar. We would encourage you throughout the session, if you do have any questions, you are all on a mute status. If you have questions, then please do use the question and answer, which will be on the toolbar at the bottom of your screens, and you can post any question and we'll try and cover them off at the end. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Andrew Rosamond. Andrew from CARA Technology. He's the managing director and part owner of CARA Technology, an IT support company that places a high degree of emphasis on IT security. Andrew works with many influential cyber security teams in the UK and is a founding member of the AURA Cyber Security Alliance that are tasked with delivering affordable IT audits to vulnerable SMBs throughout the UK. Andrew's journey into IT security started 6 years ago when his best friend's business was hit with a telephone banking scam, and that cost them £30,000. And the bank tried to blame the IT systems, which turned out not to be the problem. But it set Andrew off on a journey to ensure that he would make certain that none of his clients were ever in that same position again. So it leaves me to say, welcome, Andrew, and over to you.
Thank you, Steve. So cybercrime, not particularly a new subject. All of us are aware of it, especially since the WannaCry attack that affected our NHS. Can you believe that was nearly 3 years ago now? So we're all aware of cybercrime, and statistically more than half of us have experienced it. However, today I want to talk about the additional challenges the lockdown and subsequent work from home advice has added to this threat. So I'd like to start by discussing the 3 challenges that we're recognizing across our service desk at present. So the first one that we're seeing, the first challenge, is basically exploiting the thirst for knowledge. So our thirst for knowledge about COVID has been jumped on by cyber criminals, and there are many new attack campaigns based around this. The BBC published an excellent article a week ago that tracked 5 specific campaigns, and since then these campaigns have grown faster than the actual virus itself. So much so that we are currently advising our clients to remove the words corona and COVID from any marketing broadcast that they're making, just in case they get sent to spam by the email filtering systems. Your team will be receiving emails that might contain links to sites with COVID statistic counters, information about tax refunds or grants, information about how to protect yourselves, and sites asking for donations to help the sick and elderly cope with this pandemic. The truth is, these criminals are able and prepared to use any trick they can to steal your information. They have absolutely no morals and will play on all of your emotions. The second challenge that we're seeing is the fact that the employees are being asked to use their home equipment. Many employees are being asked to work from home, and in some cases to do so using their own computers. This has been done urgently in a lot of cases, and these home computers may not be as secure as their office PC counterparts. They may not have the latest security updates, they might not have up-to-date security software, and they will probably be on a less secure network or even a shared network connection. All of this leads to an easier attack vector for cyber criminals. And the third challenge, we believe, is the fact that we're working apart from each other. Criminals understand that as we work apart from each other, there will be some degree of breakdown in communication and interaction between our teams. And this provides an excellent backdrop for phishing emails, whereby criminals will impersonate team members asking for payments to be made, and they use clever social engineering techniques to make these emails very convincing. If we're not sat next to each other or even in the same office, then we might be tempted to carry out more transactions based solely on email requests. So the purpose of this afternoon's webinar is to answer some questions that many of you are already asking about how we can better protect our team and our businesses during this difficult time. And we've broken these questions down into a couple of sections. And the first section is about passwords. But before we start with the password related questions, I'd just like to play a 3-minute video, hopefully to lighten the mood a little, but also to make a point regarding how easy it is for us to give our passwords away. I do believe that the audio on this video might be a little bit quiet, so if you're on a headset, just bear in mind it might just be a little bit shouty when it first starts.
You know, we've been hearing a lot about cybersecurity lately, largely because of what happened to Sony. Companies and individuals are more concerned about the safety and privacy of their information than ever. President Obama has unveiled a number of new proposals this week to crack down on hackers, and he plans to address this in the State of the Union speech on Tuesday. And it's great that the government is working on this, but the truth of the matter is we need to do a better job of protecting ourselves. You know, the most popular password in the United States is password 123. And as long as that's the case, we're vulnerable. So today we sent a camera out on Hollywood Boulevard to help people by asking them to tell us their password. And this is how that went.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay.
But,
As if you had this cat for a while?
yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie. So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1?
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. And what year were you born?
95.
Oh, great. So Jolie 6/12/95.
Yes.
Got it.
So you mean to give my password right now? No, I cannot do that.
But we all want to know what it is so we can tell you if it's strong or not.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Okay, one is Tel Aviv. Yeah. 468, and then Israel. It's only 3, but it's, you know, it's for me it's strong enough.
Ireland 1-2-3-4. Gemma 1-2-3. Spelled G-E-M-M-A.
Well, most of them are Italian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
so
what? Like what's a good Italian password?
My grandma's name.
What's your grandma's name?
Maria.
Maria. So Maria is your password?
Oh yeah, now you know my password. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the important.
Okay, so that video was shot 6 years ago, but here is the interesting thing. They did exactly the same exercise 2 years later with the same results. And I can already hear you saying that this would only happen in America, right? Well, Staffordshire Police did the same exercise 2 years ago in Lichfield City Centre. Unfortunately, they weren't allowed to publish the video because of GDPR. The truth is it can and does happen anywhere. So, Steve, can we have the first question about passwords, please?
Andrew, should we regularly change our passwords?
Thank you. Well, yes, we used to suggest that passwords were changed every 3 months. However, more modern thinking would now suggest that this isn't a good thing. What we've found from experience is that when we insist on changing passwords regularly, our users tend to make them easier to remember and similar to the previous one. So our advice currently is changing passwords isn't necessary. What we do say, however, is passwords must be 3 things. The first thing is they should be secret. There should never be a reason to share your password, even with your colleagues. If you need to give someone access to your email or your work documents, then simply ask your IT guys to give that access. There is honestly no legitimate reason to give anyone your password, and I include your IT team in that statement. The second thing is passwords should be complex. They shouldn't be simple and easy to guess. Don't use things like your favorite football team, date of birth, or your grandma's name like our Italian friend did in the video just now. Don't use common words like password or secret. An ideal password formula is to take 3 words and join them together like I've done here. So I've got red, car and Skoda, but I'm using symbols and numbers to join them together. It's not difficult for me to remember as a password, but it's almost impossible for anyone to guess. And the third thing is that passwords must be unique. Never use the same password twice, and I'm now going to show you why. So, Steve, would you like to guess what these words are?
Well, yeah, I can guess that one in the middle quite easily, Andrew.
Yeah, the passwords. And more specifically, they are passwords of people that are attending the webinar this afternoon. I got these passwords from using a simple tool that trawls an area of the internet that we call the dark web. The tool looks for stolen passwords. I've purposefully only put up very old stolen passwords. But the point I'm making is if you've used these passwords on multiple systems, then I could have access to multiple systems that you log into using your email address and those passwords that are readily available. These passwords are available for sale because the site they were used on became compromised and your details were stolen when that happened. We've all heard of these large data breaches like LinkedIn, TalkTalk, Ashley Madison. If anyone's worried about where these passwords have been stolen from, you can get a full report by visiting my website at this link here. And Steve will send this link out later. By the way, we also have a template for companies to download as well, which is a company password template. Again, a very simple document, and Steve will be sharing that at the end of the webinar. So, Steve, can we have the next question on passwords, please?
Next question, Andrew. How can we safely store our passwords?
Well, our advice is simply to use a password manager. So what is a password manager? Well, it's an electronic store of all of your passwords. Think of it as a virtual safety deposit box. An example, a password protected Excel spreadsheet is a password manager. But we actually recommend a product from a company called LastPass. There's a free version available. It's incredibly easy to use. It works on your computer, your mobile phone, your tablet. Not only does it store your passwords, but it can generate new passwords for you and can also automatically fill them in for you. Personally, I actually don't know most of my passwords. I know my LastPass password, which gets me in, and that's about it. Couple of warnings though on password management. For the first one, and I know this sounds obvious, don't forget the password to your password manager. If you do, there's absolutely no way you're going to get those passwords back. I know this from bitter experience. The first time I set up LastPass, I forgot the password that I used when I set it up. Fortunately, I hadn't put many passwords in, but there was no way I was getting it back. The second piece of advice on this, and this is probably one of the most important things that I'll be saying today, is do not allow your browser to remember your passwords. Otherwise, any criminal that has access to your computer will see all of your passwords to all of your accounts in a matter of seconds. Steve, can we have the next question on passwords, please? Okay, Steve, I'm not hearing you, so I'm assuming that I still have control.
Sorry, Andrew. What is two-factor authentication and should I use it?
Perfect. So your password is a method of authentication. There are many different types of authentication. You might have a phone or tablet that uses your thumbprint, for instance, or it may have a camera that does facial recognition. These are all different forms of authentication. If you take one or more of these forms and combine them together as a requirement to log onto a system, then you have what we call multi-factor authentication, or MFA, or 2FA as it's commonly referred to. Your online banking PIN with that little calculator is another example of 2FA. So the question is, Should you use it? Well, absolutely. If you're using a system that allows 2FA, why not turn it on? If you don't have 2FA enabled on your business email systems, then it's not a matter of if your email will be compromised, but when. I'm going to say that again. It's not a matter of if, but when. To put this into perspective, Microsoft have reported last year that at any one time, at least a third of their clients will have one or more compromised email accounts. 2FA sorts that out in one easy step. I'm not trying to be alarmist here, but 2FA is an absolute must to protect your teams, your clients, and your business. So hopefully that's covered some of the common questions on passwords. If you've got any more questions that you want to add into that, please send them to Steve in the open Q&A session at the end. I understand we've now got some questions on working from home. So Steve, can we have the first working from home question, please?
So is my home firewall strong enough?
Okay, so firewall tends to be a blanket term that's often misused and misunderstood. I'm not going to do a deep dive on firewall technology. It's a very dry subject, but I would like to make a couple of points. Most home internet services come with a very basic firewall component or no firewall at all. But your PCs will also have a decent firewall component if they have been configured properly. The issue here is that the default setting for a home network is to trust pretty much everything that's on the network, and that's the Achilles heel. Personally, I would always recommend replacing the basic router that comes with your internet service to a more secure home product, and there are many products out there and they are very affordable. I really like combined wireless network firewall devices. Netgear do a cracking one called the Orbi wireless system. It's quite cheap. It comes with an app that makes it administrating it very easy. It includes some good parental guidance features too, like knocking off connections to the iPads when it's time for little Johnny to go to bed. And you can do this all from a very simple app on your phone. There are also some things that you can do to bolster your basic home firewalls as well. So there's a service called the Quad9 Free DNS service, which basically filters DNS requests, which means that when you're doing web browsing, you're not going to end up where you shouldn't or don't want to. It's probably takes a bit of configuring, and it's worth speaking to your IT team, but there's no cost around this service. Can we have the next question, please, Steve?
Is my home PC going to be secure enough?
Okay. We always recommend that all of our clients that are asking their staff to work from home actually have their own security suite, their corporate security suite added to those home PCs. It's cheap. We charge £2.50 a month per device, so it's not an expensive cost, and at least you then know that everything on your network that's accessing your information is reasonably safe. If you don't have that as an option, then you need to do a number of things really. The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that the PC has the latest security updates, and check at least once a week that it's up to date. Microsoft send their updates out on a Tuesday, so ideally check late Wednesday or Thursday, and really broadcast this to your team that are working from home. Secondly, ensure that they do have an up-to-date antivirus software installed. There are plenty of good packages out there that are free for home use, but they can be limited. But also, please be very careful when Googling for free security software, as there's a lot of stuff out there that will actually do more harm to your computer than it will do good. Microsoft Defender is a good free solution for Windows 10 users, and companies like Avast or Bitdefender also do free home software. But even if you're not providing the software for your home users, I would at least suggest that you provide a recommendation. And finally, you need to look at how you are connected to the internet at home. If you are sharing it with other devices, are they secure and protected? Because if they're not secure and protected, they can affect your device too. Next question, please, Steve.
Is my home Wi-Fi?
Safe.
Safe.
Good point. As long as all the devices that are using the home wireless network are secure and you have security enabled on your wireless network, then it should be okay. But again, there are things that can be done to make it more secure. Importantly, if you're in a managed living space with a shared wireless network, then we would suggest that you only work on your office data using a secure VPN connection or virtual private network connection. What this means is that all information that you're transmitting and receiving is encrypted. This is something you'll need to speak to your IT department about. But I think that covers the working from home section, Steve. We'll move on to the general questions now. If we can have the next question, please.
Okay, so why would criminals be interested in our information? We're just a small business that no one's ever heard of.
This is probably one of the most common questions that we get when we talk to clients about cybersecurity, and it's a great question, but it's assuming that all cyber attacks are targeted. Unfortunately, most cyber attacks are like junk email. They're sent out to everyone and are waiting for someone to take the bait. The added complication here is that a lot of them will have come from a compromised account of somebody you already work with, a supplier, a client, or a colleague. Once they've accessed that account, they have access to their contact details and therefore they can contact you. Because it's coming from someone you know or are more likely to trust, you're going to open it. Once you've done that, if it contains a compromise and they're in your system, they're going to do a couple of things. The first thing they're going to do is steal your contact information because they're going to use that for their next mail shot. But they're going to look at your email threads between you and your colleagues, your suppliers, and they're going to start to hijack these conversations and get you to send money and or information that will be of value to them. This is what we call BEC, or Business Email Compromise, and it's massive. 2 years ago, this was a £2 billion industry. It is the single biggest threat to your business. And to put it into perspective, more than 1 in every 100 emails that are transmitted now is a business email compromise attack. So I thought it would be good to show how this works in practice, and I've got another video for you now on business email compromise.
Ever heard of business email compromise? BEC for short? This is the hot new thing in the cyber criminal arsenal. It's such a simple scam you may be surprised that it works at all. But a combination of good research and effective social engineering has generated, according to the FBI, almost $3.1 billion in losses globally in the last 2 years. Let's have a look at how it works. There are 5 main types of BEC. We'll briefly describe each of them. The most common scheme is one in which criminals impersonate high-level business executives by compromising their email accounts. The accounts can be either directly compromised or simply spoofed. Of course, the spoofed mails are more simple to detect and block. Then they send a fund transfer request to a senior employee who is responsible for such operations within the company. In the majority of cases, these requests appear to come from a CEO and are sent to the CFO of the same organization. In this scheme, a business is contacted by criminals impersonating a supplier. They request to wire funds for invoice payment to an alternative fraudulent account. The request may be made via telephone, email, or even fax. A compromised email account can be used against targets other than internal employees. From a compromised account, criminals send requests for invoice payments to multiple vendors that are in the victim's address book. The transfer is, of course, made to a fraudulent account. Attackers can also impersonate lawyers or representatives of law firms claiming to be handling confidential or time-sensitive matters. This type of scam usually occurs at the end of a business day or week. The victims are persuaded to act quickly or secretly with the transfer of funds. In this most recent scenario, a compromised business executive's email account is being used to send requests to provide personally identifiable information. The main targets of this type of scam are human resources, bookkeeping, and financial or auditing departments. BEC scams target organizations both large and small. Compared to ransomware, for example, BEC scams yield approximately 100 times greater net profit. The criminals rely heavily on social engineering techniques, which makes business email compromise very difficult to detect. There are some steps, however, that you can take to minimize the risk of a BEC attack. Be wary of unexpected emails sent by high-level executives, and try to get a secondary verification of the request. Raise executive and non-executive employee awareness. It is most often human error that leads to security breaches. Verify changes in vendor payment details by using a secondary sign-off. Verify fund transfer requests. Make sure you're using advanced email security technologies, as standard anti-spam solutions are not good at detecting these types of scams. And last but not least, use common sense. If funds are transferred to a fraudulent account, it is important to act quickly. Contact your financial institution immediately upon discovering the fraudulent transfer. Request that your financial institution contact the corresponding bank to which the fraudulent transfer was sent. File a complaint, regardless of loss amount, at www.ic3.gov in the US or actionfraud.police.uk in the UK, or your local law enforcement organisation.
Okay, so there was mention of spoofing in that video, which is where cyber criminals pretend to be you or your contacts. Quick question, Steve, if I might. Can you tell me what I've just put up on the screen, please?
That's our domain. That's where our website and our email is hosted.
Absolutely, bwpinspire.co.uk. So you've registered this as your property.
Yep.
No one else can buy that. Would you say that's correct?
There's a twist in this, but yes, go on, yes.
Okay, so can I ask you to look at this, please?
Right,
so
it's for sale, is it?
So this domain is currently available for sale on a legitimate website, 123reg, and the really good news is it's actually in their sale at the moment. It's been reduced from £11.99 to 99p. If I buy this, can you see how easy it is for me to impersonate you as a business?
Yeah, I'm looking very closely at, yeah.
Okay, so it's time to confess, I've been a bit naughty here, because actually what I did was I changed the case of the second IR in Inspire to a lower case L. But actually these are the simple kind of tricks that criminals use, and a lot more clever ones besides that. So the point I'm trying to make here is, even if you get an email from someone that you trust, asking you to send money that you were expecting to send, my advice is to still double check, especially whilst we're working in isolation, because that makes us far more vulnerable. Can we have the next question, please, Steve?
Sure. Is there any free cybersecurity training available?
Yep, another great question. So the National Cybersecurity Centre, basically, they've got a really good 30-minute security training course that's available free of charge. It's an online course. It's got a nice little quiz at the end. And I'd actually suggest you get your whole team to watch this video. Get them to take the test, get them to screenshot the results, maybe have a little prize for the winner, so there's a bit of competition going around it. It's a great little 30-minute test, basically, video and test. There's also some really good paid for products that have an awful lot more content. You get a dashboard so that you can see who's completed what within your team, and it's also good evidence for your GDPR compliance too. Some of those also include controlled phishing attacks, and that's when it gets really interesting, when you send a phishing email to your own business and you see who opens it and clicks on the link. But yeah, there's a lot of products out there that are really good at this kind of thing. But yes, there is free security training available too. Next question.
Should we get a cybersecurity audit done?
Well, personally, I would say yes. It's a great way to do a security health check on your business. I would offer a word of caution, though. They can be quite expensive for small or micro businesses, but then again, so can a cyber breach. I think we're all facing a lot of downtime as business owners, and now is a great time to take an inward look at our businesses. And as a starting point, I've got a very simple infographic, which I'm happy to share. I'll give it to you, Stephen. You can send it out. It's suggesting 15 ways to protect your business from a security point of view. It's not a cybersecurity audit per se, but it's a good starting point and it's free. I'm happy to share that, so I'll send that across. And I think we're pretty much at the end now of the pre-prepared questions. So I'm going to hand back to Steve now for the open Q&A session.
Okay, thanks Andrew, and thanks for that content there in the presentation. We've had some questions come through. So first one, what two-factor authentication factors? Let me say that again. What 2FA factors are recommended?
Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. So the authentication methods will generally be set by the service itself. So you don't typically get to choose what kind of authentication you use. It's like you can't go to the bank and say, well, I want to use a thumbprint instead of your calculator. Most online sites, services such as Zoho, Xero, etc., will all give you an option probably of using either an app. So there are a number of apps like the Google Authenticator app, the Microsoft Authenticator app, or you can use a text or even a phone call. But they will be controlled by the business that's providing the service.
Okay, so this one's very much related to that. It says, I've heard it's possible to spoof numbers for when codes are texted to phones. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, there is a genuine opportunity there for criminals to spoof phone numbers. Having said that, that's only going to be for sending texts out. So if your 2FA service is sending a text to you, as far as I'm aware, and I will do some research on this and contradict myself if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, if you've given your telephone number to that service and they're sending that code to that number as a text, it's only going to hit your phone. It's not going to hit the criminal's phone.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm gonna sort of scoop up a few questions in one here, because really most of the other questions are centered around some of the links you've put, Andrew. You know, obviously there's not been time to scribble those down, so we've had a few questions saying, look, how can we get hold of these?
So what I'll do, Steve, if it's okay, is I'll just put a sheet together. I've also got a white paper that we're going to give to everyone that's attended on the four recommendations that we make when you're working from home. And if I can ask you to send that out to all of the attendees, that would be great.
Yeah. One question just popped up towards the end there, which was centered around the free cybersecurity audit that you talked about. Is that included as well when you talk about
the infographic? Yes, it's not an audit, Steve. It's just literally a single A4 with 15 questions on that are designed to get you to start thinking about security within your business. And I'm very happy to include that with the giveaways for this afternoon. Actually, I just had a question that's come in directly from me that somebody's on the attendant, which I'd like to put in, which is, do home internet services block work connections? We've had quite a few reports across our help desk this week that Virgin have been blocking some RDP and VPN protocols. We've spoken to Virgin and they're telling us that it's actually a setting in their router rather than something on their service. So if some of your clients or the attendees are having issues with home workers accessing work, maybe it's a good way to go back, if they could go back to the service provider and just check if that's the case.
Okay, Andrew. Well, thank you very much. That's come to the end of the questions we've had, and I think because you've run this as a Q&A style from start to finish, obviously the whole thing has been about trying to predict the more common questions anyway. So yeah, there's only been a few come through really as regards the sort of things that you've pointed towards and the kind gestures you've made to send out. So we'll make sure that all attendees here to this webinar are able to get those. I mean, obviously we've invited you here along today because you're keeping us safe at BWP Inspire, and more than that, you've helped us navigate towards a working from home relationship. So you know, I would just like to make the point right here and now to say thank you to you for that, because this has not been an ordinary period by any means, but we've successfully and safely, I believe, navigated across to that arrangement. So thank you very much, Andrew. Thanks for presenting this for us this afternoon.
No, that's great, and thank you for your kind comments too. I mean, they are very interesting times at this moment in time, and you know, we as a business, and in fact many other IT companies up and down the country, are doing everything they can to ensure that their clients basically come through this as safely and as securely as possible. I mean, you know, if nothing else, it's self-preservation at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, we you know, I think the one thing I would say to all of the people that are on this afternoon's webinar is, do speak to your IT team if you've got any concerns. They will gladly and willingly help you through this.
Thanks very much, and thank you to everybody who's come on today's webinar. I think hopefully within an hour or two we will have this up on our YouTube site, so you can search BWP Inspire in case you want to direct any of your friends or colleagues to this if you think it might have been used for them but they were unable to make it this afternoon. So thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew, and thanks everybody for attending.
You're welcome. Thanks, Steve.